Good morning. Read with me the Vayera Torah portion. Vayera meaning he appeared. We'll be reading Genesis 18 through 22, 2 Kings 41, Luke 17:28 through 37, and alternate as well as Hebrews 11:8 through 19. Genesis 18. And Yahweh appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Meribah, while he was sitting on the tent door, in the tent door of the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and saw 3 men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, Yahweh, if I have found favor in your eyes, please do not pass by your servant. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread, and refresh your hearts, and then go on. For this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran to the tent to Sarah and said, hurry, make 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, and gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. And they said to him, where is Sarah your wife? And he said, she is in the tent. And he said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life. And see, Sarah, your wife, is to have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was passed away a woman. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master, being too old? And Yahweh said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I truly have a child since I am old? Is any matter too hard for Yahweh? At the appointed time I am going to return to you, according to the time of life, and Sarah is to have a son. But Sarah denied saying it. I did not laugh. But Sarah denied saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them away. And Yahweh said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham was certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him so that he commands his children and his household after him to guard the way of Yahweh, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahweh brings to Abraham that he has spoken to him. And Yahweh said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is heavy, I'm going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it which it has come to me. If not, I know. So the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom. But Yahweh stood before Abraham. And Abraham drew near and said, would you destroy the righteous with the wrong? Suppose there were 50 righteous with the city. Would you also destroy the place, and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wrong, so that the righteous should be as the wrong. Far be it from you. Does the judge of all the earth not do right? So Abraham's trying to plead with God. And Yahweh said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sake. And Abraham answered and said, look, please, I am but dust and ashes. I have taken upon myself to speak to Yahweh. Suppose there are 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, if there are 45, I do not destroy it. And he spoke to him, meaning Yahweh, yet again, and said, suppose there are suppose there are found 40. And he said, I would not do it for the sake of 40. And he said, let not Yahweh be displeased, and let me speak. Suppose there were found 30. And he said, I would not do it if I found 30 there. He's bringing them down. It's like Abraham knows like how bad this place is. And he said, look, please, I have taken upon myself to speak to Yahweh. Suppose there are found 20. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 20. And he said, let not Yahweh be displeased. And let me speak only this time. Suppose there are found 10. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 10. Then Yahweh went away as soon as he had ended speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. And the 2 messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, look, please, my masters, please turn in your servant's house and spend the night, wash your feet, and rise early and go your way. And they said, no, but let's spend the night in the open square. But he urged them strongly, and they turned in to him and came into his house. And he made them a feast, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. And before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the men from every part, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot, and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, and let us know them. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, and shut the door behind, and said, please, my brothers, do not do evil. See, look, please, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you wish. Only do no deed to these men, because they have come under the shadow of my roof. But they said, stand back. And they said, this one came in to sojourn and should always be judged. Now we are going to treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against the man, Lot, and came near to break the door down. But the men reached out with their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, and they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said to Lot, have you anyone here, a son-in-law, and your sons and your daughters, and whoever you have in the city, bring them out of this place. For we are going to destroy this place, because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahweh, and Yahweh has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws, who had married his daughters, and said, get up, get out of this place, for Yahweh is going to destroy this city. But his son-in-law, he seemed to be as one joking. But to his son-in-laws, he seemed to be as one joking. And when morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, Get up, take your wife, your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he loitered, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters, Yahweh having compassion on them, and they brought them out and sent them outside the city, and set them outside the city. And it came to be, when they had brought them outside, that he said, Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed. And Lot said to them, Oh no, Yahweh, look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have increased your loving commitment, which you have sworn to me by saving my life. But I am unable to escape to the mountains, lest calamity overtake me and die. Like, God just saved you, and you're thinking he's going to put you in a place that's going to kill you? Alright, anyway. Look, please, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there. If it is not a small matter, and let my life be saved. And he said to them, Look, I have favored you concerning this matter also, without overthrowing this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I am not able to do any deed until you arrive there. So the name of the city was called Sohar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Sohar, and Yahweh rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahweh out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities that grew on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. And Abraham rose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward the land, all the land of the plain. And he looked and saw the smoke of the land, which went up like a smoke of a furnace. Thus it came to be, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. When he returned the cities in which Lot had dwelt. And Lot went out of Sohar and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters were with him. For he was afraid to dwell in Sohar, and he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave. And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come in to us, as is the way of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and lie with him, so that we preserve the seed of our father. So they made the father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he was not aware of it when she lay down, or when she had rose. And it came to be the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, See, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight as well, and you go and lie with him, so that we keep the seed of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night as well. The younger one arose and lay with him, and he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. And he is the father of the Moabs to this day. And the younger also bore a son, and called his name Benjamin. And he is the father of the children of the Ammon to this day. And Abraham sent out from there to the land of the south, and sojourned between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. And Abraham said concerning Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Amalek, sovereign of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. He's doing this again. He did this before. I don't know. But Elohim came to Amalek in a dream by night and said to him, See, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. However, Amalek had not come near her, and he said, Yahweh, would you kill a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, She is my sister? And she even herself said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and in the innocence of my hands, I have done this. And Elohim said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart. And so I kept you from sinning against me. For this reason, I did not let you touch her. And now, return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and let him pray for you, and you live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall certainly die, you and all that is yours. So Amalek rose early in the morning and called all his servants and spoke all the words in their hearing. And the men were greatly frightened. And Amalek called Abraham and said to him, What have you done to us? In what have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and on my reign a great sin? You have done matters to me that should not be done. And Amalek said to Abraham, What did you have in view that you have done this matter? And Abraham said, Only because I said to myself, The fear of Elohim is not in this place, and they shall kill me for the sake of my wife. And yet she is truly my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came to be, when Elohim caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, This is your loving commitment that you should go to do for me in every place. Wherever we go, say of me, He is my brother. Then Amalek took sheep and cattle and male and female servants and gave them to Abraham. And he returned Sarah to him, returned Sarah his wife to him. And Amalek said, See, my land is before you. Dwell wherever it is good in your eyes. And to Sarah he said, See, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. See to it you a covering of eyes before all who are with you, and before all others, and you are clear before everyone. And Abraham prayed to Elohim, and Elohim healed Amalek and his wife and his female servants, so they bore children. So Yahweh had closed up all the wombs of the house of Amalek because of Sarah's, Abraham's wife. And Yahweh visited Sarah, and said, Yahweh did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son, who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac, or Yishak. And Abraham circumcised his son, Isaac, when he was 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made me laugh, and everyone who hears of it laughs with me. And he said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Mistrite, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking. So she said to Abraham, Drive out this female servant and her son, For the son of this female servant shall not inherit with my son with Isaac. And the matter was very evil in the eyes of Abraham because of his son. But Elohim said to Abraham, let it not be evil in your eyes because of the boy, and because of your female servant. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for in Isaac your seed is called. And on the son, and of the son of the female servant, I also make a nation, because he is of your seed. And Abraham rose early in the morning, took bread, a skin of water, which he gave to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, also the boy, and sent her away. And she left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water of the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down about a bow shot away, for she said, let me not see the death of the boy. And she sat opposite him and lifted her voice and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the boy, and the messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from the heavens and said to her, what is the matter with you, Hagar? Do not fear, for Elohim has heard the voice of the boy, where he is. Arise, lift up the boy, and hold him with your hand, for I make a great nation of him. And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water, and gave the boy a drink. And Elohim was with the boy, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dealt in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took a wife for him from the land of Mizraim. And it came to be at that time that Amalek and Piccolo, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you do. And now swear to me by Elohim not to be untrue to me, to my offspring, or to my descendants. Do to me according to the loving commitment that I have done to you and to the land in which you have sojourned. And Abraham said, I swear. And Abraham reproved Amalek because of the well of water which Amalek's servant had seized. And Amalek had said, I do not know who has done this deed, neither did you inform me, nor did I hear until today. So Abraham took sheep and cattle, gave them to Amalek, and the two of them made a covenant. And Abraham sent 7 ewes of lambs of the flocks by themselves. And Amalek said to Abraham, what are these 7 ewe lambs which you have sent by themselves? And he said, Abraham, take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, to be my witness that I have dug this well, so that this place could. So he called the place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. And Amalek rose with Piccolo, the commander, and his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And he planted a Teramac tree in Beersheba, and he called the name of Yahweh the everlasting El. And Abraham sojourned in the land of the Philistines many days. 22. And it came to be after these events that Elohim tried Abraham, and said to him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. And he said, Take your son now, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as an ascending offering on one of the mountains that I command you. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son. And he split the wood for the ascending offering, and rose and went to the place which Elohim had commanded him. And on the third day Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place from a distance. So Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey, while the boy and I go there and worship and come back to you." Abraham took the wood of the ascending offering and laid it on Isaac his son. And he took fire in his hand and a knife, and the two of them went together. And Isaac spoke to Abraham, his father, and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am, my son." And he said, "See the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the ascending offering?" And Abraham said, "My son Elohim does provide for himself the lamb for an ascending offering." And the two of them went together. And they came to a place which Elohim had commanded him, and Abraham built a slaughter place there, and placed the wood in order. And he bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the slaughter place upon the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. But the messenger of Yahweh, some believe that might be Messiah, called to him from the heavens and said, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Do not lay your hand on the boy, nor touch him. For now I know that you fear Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Like, it's not his only son. He's got Hagar's son. And Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and saw behind him a ram caught in a bush by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as an ascending offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Yahweh, as it is said to this day, "On the mountain Yahweh provides." And the messenger of Yahweh called to Abraham a second time from the heavens, and said, "By myself I have sworn, declares Yahweh, because you have done this, and have not withheld your son, your only son, that I shall certainly bless you, and I shall certainly increase your seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is on the seashore, and let your seed possess the gate of their enemies. And in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." Then Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt in Beersheba. And it came to be after these events that it was reported to Abraham, saying, "See, Milcah too has borne children of your brother Nahor, Ucha his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Chilon the father of Aram, and Kesel, and Hazah, and Phildash, and Philap, and Bethuel. And Bethuel brought forth Reba. These 8 Milcah born to Nahor, Abraham's brother, and his concubine, whose name was Rewam, also bore Tabath, and Gaham, and Tanash, and Micaiah. Right, that concluded the Genesis part of the Torah portion. We'll now be in 2 Kings chapter 4. We'll read 1 through 37. And a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elijah, saying, "Your servant, my husband, is dead. And you know that your servant feared Yahweh, and the lender has come to take my 2 sons to be his slaves." And Elisha said to her, "What should I do for you? Inform me, what do you have in the house?" And he said, "Your female servant has none at all in the house except a pot of oil." And he said, "Go, borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels do not get a few. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you and your sons, then pour it into all those vessels, and set aside the filled ones. So she went from him and shut the door and behind her and her sons, and brought the vessels to her, and she poured it out. And it came to be, when the vessels were filled, that she said to her son, Bring me another vessel. But he said to her, There is not another vessel, and the oil ceased. So she went and informed the man of Elohim, and he said, Go, sell the oil, and pay your debt, and you and your son live on the rest. And it came to be on a day that Elisha went to Shaman, where there was a prominent woman, and she took hold of him to eat some food. And it came to be, as often as he passed by, that he turned in there to eat some food. And she said to her husband, Look, I know that this is a set-apart man of Elohim who passes by us continually. Please, let us make a small upper room on the wall, and let us put a bed for him there, and a table and a chair and a lampstand. And it shall be, whenever he comes to us, let him turn in there. And it came to be on a day that he came there, and he turned into the upper room and laid there. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, Call this Shunammite woman. So he called her, and she stood before him. And he said to him, Please say to her, Look, you have gone to all this trouble for us. What is there to be done for you? Should I speak on your behalf to the sovereign, or the commander of the army? And she answered, I am dwelling among my own people. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Well, she has no son, and her husband is old. And he said, Call her. So he called her and stood in the doorway. And he said, About this appointed time next year, you shall embrace a son. And she said, No, my master, man of Elohim, do not lie to your female servant. And the woman conceived and bore a son when the appointed time had come, of which Elijah had spoken to her. And the child grew, and it came to be on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said to his father, My head, my head. And he said to a servant, Take him to his mother. So he took him and brought him to his mother, and he sat on her knees till noon, and died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of Elohim, and shut the door on him, and went out. And he called to her husband and said, Please send me one of the young men and one of the donkeys, so that I hurry to the man of Elohim and return. Why are you going? And he said, Why are you going to him today? It is neither the new moon nor the Sabbath. And she said, It is well. And she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, Drive and go. Do not slow down except I speak to you. And she went and came to the man of Elohim at Mount Carmel. And it came to be, when the man of Elohim saw her at the distance, he said to his servant Gehazi, See the Shunammite woman. Please run now to meet her and say to her, Is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, It is well. And she came to the man of Elohim at the hill, and she took hold of him by the feet. But Gehazi came near to push her away, but the man of Elohim said, "Leave her alone, for for her being is bitter in her, and Yahweh has hidden it from me, and has not revealed it to me." And she said, "Did I ask for a son of my master? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" And he said to Gehazi, "Gird up your loins, and take your staff in your hand, and go. When you meet anyone, do not greet him. And when anyone greets you, do not answer him. And you shall lay my staff on the face of the child." And the mother of the child said, "As Yahweh lives, as your being lives, I do not leave you." And he rose and followed her. And Gehazi went on ahead of them, and laid the staff on the face of the child. But there was no voice, and there was no hearing. So he went back to meet him, and reported to him, saying, "The child has not awakened." And Elijah came into the house, and saw the child was dead, lying on his bed. And he went in, and shut the door behind the two of them, and prayed to Yahweh. And he went up, and laid on the child, and put his mouth on his mouth, and his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands, and stretched himself out on the child. And the flesh of the child became warm. And he returned and walked back and forth in the house, then went up and stretched himself out on him. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and said, "Call the Samaritan." So he called her, and she came to him, and he said, "Pick up your son." Then she went in, fell at his feet, bowed herself to the ground, and picked up her son and went out. Okay, that finished off 2 Kings verse 4, or book 4, chapter 4. That will be in Luke 17:28 through 37. And likewise it came to be in the days of Lot. They were eating, they were drinking, and they were buying, they were selling, they were planting, they were building. But on the day Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed it all. It shall be the same in the day the Son of Adam is revealed. In that day he who shall be on the housetop, and his goods in the house, let him not come down to take them away. And likewise the one who was in the field, let him not turn back. Remember the wife of Lot. Whoever seeks to save his life shall lose it, and whoever loses his life shall preserve it. And I say to you, in that night, there shall be 2 in one bed, and one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 shall be in the field. One shall be taken, and the other shall be left. And they answered him, and they answering said to him, "Where, master?" And he said to them, where the body is, there also the vultures shall be gathered together. Okay, I'm about to finish up here. We'll be in Hebrews 11:8 through 19. By belief he sojourned in the land of the promise as a stranger, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking for the city having foundations, whose builder and maker is Elohim. By belief also Sarah herself was enabled to conceive, and she bore a child when she was past the normal age, because she was deemed him trustworthy who had promised. And so, from one and him as good as dead, were born as numerous as the stars of the heavens, as countless as the sand which is by the seashore. In belief, all those who died, not having received the promise, but seeing them from a distance, welcomed and embraced them, and confessed that they were aliens and strangers on the earth. For those who speak this way make it clear that they seek a fatherland. And yet, if they had indeed kept remembering that place from which they had not come out, they would have had the chance to return. But now they long for a better place that is heavenly. Therefore Elohim is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he has prepared a city for them. By belief, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac. And he who had received the promise offered up his only brought forth son, of whom it is said that Isaac your seed shall be called. Shalom. May you have a great Shabbat. Read your Bible, talk to the Father, and make it a great day. It's my honor to put this out there. Just read your Bible. Thank you.